Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 409, the Scheme Team. This is also the last episode of Season 8, Advanced Battle. The episode begins the day after the end of the Evergrande Conference, where Tyson had emerged victorious, winning the Evergrande Trophy. Now that the Hoenn League was over, there was no reason for Ash and the gang to stay in Evergrande City, so they were about to get on a boat to take them out of Evergrande City. So they went to the port of Evergrande City with Tyson and his Meowth, as well as Morrison, so that they could say goodbye to them, because Tyson and Morrison would not be joining the gang, unfortunately. Tyson planned to go back home for a bit, and then he was going to travel around the Hoenn region again, while Morrison was going to do the same thing. Soon enough, Ash and the gang had said goodbye to Morrison and Tyson, who left on separate boats, and then the boat that they had to take them out of Evergrande City arrived, and they rode it. Eventually, the ferry had taken Ash and the gang on the outskirts of Odell Town, where they departed off the ferry. From there, Ash, May, Max, and Brock all made separate plans. Now that Ash's Hoenn journey was over, it was time for everyone to split up for a while. Ash was going to go back to Pallet Town to see his mom and Mr. Mime. Brock was going to go back to Peter City to check on his family and the gym, while May and Max were going to go back to Petalburg City to check on their father and their mother and see how the gym was holding up and all that. But first, Ash and the gang were going to travel all the way to Odell Town together so that they could have one last little trip before they had to split up. Along the way to Odell Town, they decided to stop for some lunch, which Brock made. So they found a nice little peaceful spot on the way to Odell Town and sat there to enjoy what Brock had made, stew and rice balls. Max looked at the rice balls excited and remembered how delicious his mom's food was and stated that he couldn't wait to taste his mom's food and see her again. While Pikachu ate some Pokemon food, May commented that she and Max were definitely going to miss Brock's cooking, even if they really did love their mom's cooking, and wished that she and Max could bring some of Brock's recipes with them to Petalburg. Before Brock could reply, Ash interrupted, asking May and Max to remember to say hello to Norman for him, and Max promised to do so, as well as tell him that Ash should have won the Evergrande Conference, but he just couldn't, which angered and embarrassed Ash a little bit, leading Brock to change the subject away from that, suggesting that while he and Ash made their way back to Kanto, they should first stop by to see Professor Birch in Little Root Town. Max clarified that he and May would also stop by Little Root Town at some point to greet Professor Birch too, and also promised to visit Ash in Pallet Town sometime, so that Max could also meet Professor Oak. Max, apparently being an expert on Pallet Town because Professor Oak was from there, stated that from their current area, according to the Pokénav, Ash should be in Pallet Town before nighttime. Upon hearing all the shit about Professor Oak and Pallet Town, Brock asked Ash if he planned to see Professor Oak when he went back to Pallet Town, with Ash confirming that, of course, he fucking would. Ash and the gang were so busy talking that they hadn't even eaten all the motherfucking rice balls yet, so Munchlax saw its chance, forcibly popping out of its Pokeball and eating all the rice balls in one go. At first, Ash and the gang was shocked and impressed by this, aside from Brock, because he revealed that he expected a situation like this could happen, so he made some extra rice balls. So everyone dug in, happily enjoying their meal, and enjoying each other's company for what would be the last time for a while. Once Ash and the gang were done eating, they progressed all the way to a crossroads just outside of Odell Town, the perfect opportunity for all of them to split up, even though they didn't want to. Ash and Brock were going to go one way towards Kanto, while May and Max would go the other way towards Petalburg City. But before the gang went in their two separate ways, Brock and Ash said their farewells to May and Max, promising to keep in touch and see each other again one day. And the four of them put their hands together and then lift them up to solidify this promise, as May reminds Ash to always take care of his Pokemon. And with that, May and Max go in the direction of Petalburg City, and Brock and Ash go in the direction towards Kanto. While Ash and Brock made their way towards Kanto, it was revealed that Team Rocket had already made their way back to Kanto following the Evergrande Conference. They'd gone off of Evergrande City Island as well, probably because their snack adventure was so unsuccessful, so they knew they would have to go back to Team Rocket base to report to Giovanni, to see if they could get promotions or some shit, because they were desperate for cash. Yeah, that's right, they weren't just back in Kanto, they were back at Team Rocket's HQ. Specifically, the other Team Rocket HQ, because there was one before that got blown up. Remember that? Well, yeah, this one was another secret one that existed in the mountains. Team Rocket were feeling two things, tiredness and nervousness. They were tired from the amount of miles they had to cross in order to make it back to Team Rocket HQ, and they were nervous because they were going to talk to Giovanni. Why were Team Rocket nervous about facing Giovanni, you may ask? Well, they figured that he would be upset with them when they reported that they hadn't really done jack shit in Hoenn, although Meowth told Jesse and James, trying to comfort them as well as himself, that they did do some work in Hoenn, even though he didn't name any specific examples because he couldn't think of any. Regardless, Jesse and James were desperate, so they took what they could get and believed Meowth, thinking they had actually done something good in Hoenn, when they suddenly remembered their old plan they had to lie to Giovanni, that they were the ones who helped disband Team Magma and Team Aqua. So they decided to do that, although they were worried that their lie may be found out, but they went up to the gate of the base to enter it anyways. Upon reaching the gates of the base, they were met by two Team Rocket grunts, who were guarding the base, carrying great poles as weapons to protect the base from any intruders. However, the Rocket grunts knew that Jesse, James, and Meowth weren't intruders when they announced their names, and requested to be taken to see Giovanni. Speaking of Giovanni, he was currently sitting in his main office, with Persian gazing out the window with him. However, his peaceful gazing was interrupted when his secretary phoned him on his expensive-looking phone, and informed him of Jesse, James, and Meowth's request to see him, claiming that they wanted to tell Giovanni about their success in the Hoenn region. Hearing this, Giovanni was intrigued, and told his secretary to let Jesse, James, and Meowth in, and they proceeded to enter his office. with James formally confirming his Jesse and Meowth names. Giovanni didn't give a fuck about their names, though he knew them, and he just asked them about their supposed success in Hoenn. Meowth almost foolishly admits, out of fear of lying to Giovanni, that they didn't actually have any success in Hoenn, because it appeared as though he had doubts, even though he had assured Jesse and James otherwise, and he was the one who told them that they had accomplished it. But James quickly stepped on Meowth's tail in order to shut Meowth up, so he didn't unveil the truth. Giovanni got a bit suspicious seeing this, and again asked Team Rocket what they were able to accomplish in Hoenn, leading Jesse and James to nervously lie to Giovanni that they had succeeded in taking down Team Aqua and Team Magma, as ordered. Taking them down so bad that Team Magma and Team Aqua were literally forced to disband. Giovanni simply pet his Persian and didn't believe that Jesse and James and Meowth could possibly had a hand in Team Magma and Team Aqua's disbandment, but after a bit of convincing, even though Giovanni was still skeptical, he decided to believe them and rewarded them for their hard work by giving them a new job. Well, not a new job, but a new task. Team Rocket were overjoyed by this news, although Meowth and Jesse got a little too excited, which annoyed James, as Meowth literally covered James's mouth with his paw by accident. Anyways, James soon felt better when Jesse, James, and Meowth walked out of Giovanni's office and walked through the hallway of the base, happy that they had finally got some respect and a new task in some way, convincing themselves that lying, so long as you are convincing, does pay off. And they then read what their new task was, which was apparently something to do with Antarctica, as they had been assigned to Antarctica, although Jesse, James, and Meowth were clueless to the fact that Giovanni had actually done this in an attempt to get rid of Jesse, James, and Meowth, since he was annoyed by them. But unfortunately for Giovanni, Team Rocket wouldn't figure this out, and they wouldn't even go to Antarctica, because they didn't even know what the fuck it was. They were going to try and find it, but it would be hard since they didn't know what it was. In the meantime, a very happy Meowth, pleased with the new mission, suggested that they should try and please Giovanni even more by stealing some Pokemon to give to Giovanni as a present. And Jesse and James added that they should find Antarctica first, and then capture some Pokemon in there, and then give them to Giovanni as a present. And Meowth agreed with this, as the three of them cheered, happily, hoping that going to Antarctica and catching all the Pokemon there would help them actually get a promotion from Giovanni, because this technically wasn't a promotion, just a new task. Just then, though, Team Rocket's happy cheering moment was fucking ruined when Jesse and James' top enemies, aside from Ash and the gang, rode up to them on scooters, coming in extremely fast, since the scooters were motorized. Butch and Cassidy were forced to stop, though, so as to not run over Jesse, James, and Meowth, and Butch and Cassidy ordered Team Rocket to get the fuck out of the way. Jesse, James, and Meowth refused to give satisfaction to Butch and Cassidy, so they denied, leading Jesse, James, and Meowth to start arguing with Butch and Cassidy about what group should get out of whose way, and in the process, James gets Butch's name wrong, which leads Butch to respond with his usual angry remarks. Jesse sees an opportunity to piss Cassidy off, and reveals to her that she, James, and Meowth were given a top-secret mission from Giovanni, and tried to knock Cassidy over by kicking Cassidy's scooter and knocking her off of it. Cassidy just laughs, stating her belief that Giovanni was probably just trying to get rid of them with their new mission, which was the truth. Although Jesse, James, and Meowth didn't know this, so they simply just angrily glared and argued with Butch and Cassidy over which one of their two groups was better. The argument gets so bad that both groups imagine themselves in a rocky cavern, arguing in a storm because things were so intense. But thankfully, before things could escalate to a level where Jesse, James, and Meowth and Butch and Cassidy would harm each other, a young Team Rocket grunt rushes towards Jesse, James, Meowth, Butch, and Cassidy, shouting for Butch and Cassidy's attention, but he gets Butch's name wrong in the process, much like James did, causing Butch to yell at the grunt angrily. The Team Rocket grunt was able to calm Butch and Cassidy down, though, when he revealed that he had a message for Butch and Cassidy, stating that he had a request from Professor Namba, which was to come to his laboratory as soon as possible, because Namba had a new assignment for them. Butch and Cassidy smiled, happy to have a new task that was important, and raced off down the hallway, with Cassidy getting back on her scooter, and Butch riding off on his as well, leaving Jesse, James, Meowth, and the Team Rocket grunt in the dust that their scooters had kicked up. Jesse, James, and Meowth were annoyed as fuck by Butch and Cassidy, so they decided to try and come up with a plan to overshadow them and maybe even exile them from Team Rocket, deciding to go outside of the Team Rocket base to make a plan in peace. So they requested a Team Rocket grunt nearby to escort them out, and the Team Rocket grunt did so, leading them to a pair of automatic doors, which they exited. And they were therefore just outside of the Team Rocket base, where another Team Rocket grunt with a great pole, along with an additional one, so 2 in total, were still guarding the entrance. Anyways, Meowth eventually came to the conclusion that the best way to outshine Butch and Cassidy would simply be to just do the best that they were capable of, which they should be able to do since they were back in Kanto, their home turf, which they knew inside out by this point after journeying with Ash, so stealing Pokemon should be more easy. James agreed, and stated that they could make a new start, essentially a new version of the three of them, that was way better at stealing Pokemon, utilizing entirely new strategies as well as a new motto. Before they could solidify this new and improved Team Rocket plan, though, as if Team Rocket could ever become new and improved, they have to always be annoying and repetitive, Butch and Cassidy suddenly raced out of the Team Rocket base and through the automatic doors by themselves on foot. As Butch and Cassidy run past Jesse, James, and Meowth, though, Jesse, James, and Meowth spot jetpacks on Butch and Cassidy's back, implying they'd been outfitted with them by Dr. Namba. Jesse, James, and Meowth were forced to simply watch as Butch and Cassidy ignited their jetpacks and flew off, while they laughed at Team Rocket for thinking that they could ever overthrow them in any way, and mockingly, Butch told Jesse, James, and the elf to do their best, taunting that it wouldn't matter either way. With Butch and Cassidy gone, Team Rocket quickly looked back down from the sky and were angry at the fact that Butch and Cassidy got their own equipment, such as gadgets, and they didn't. So Jesse, James, and the elf angrily grabbed one of the Team Rocket grunts guarding the entrance and demands to know where they could get some cool gear as well. With Jesse claiming that if Butch and Cassidy got to have equipment, then every Team Rocket member that wasn't just a random-ass grunt should get to have something. It seemed another Team Rocket grunt who was nearby agreed, as they stated that they had Jesse and James equipment that they deserved and needed. And Jesse and James saw that he was pulling a cart covered in a blue sheet. So that must have been the supplies that they needed. Jesse, James, and the elf eagerly run over to the cart, expecting some jetpacks of their own, but the Team Rocket grunt then pulled off the blue sheet to reveal, much to Team Rocket's embarrassment, because they thought this equipment was pretty ridiculous, some random-ass pogo sticks instead of some high-tech equipment like they were hoping for. James complained at first, wishing that even if they couldn't get jetpacks, they could at least get scooters like Butch and Cassidy, but Jesse and the elf convinced James that they should just be happy to take what they could get, and suggested that they take them anyways. So Jesse, James, and the elf hopped on their pogo sticks, and they hopped away from the base. Unfortunately, though, Team Rocket weren't used to these pogo sticks by any means, and they accidentally fell into a hole along the path, not knowing how to stop their pogo sticks. And them falling in this hole caused some smoke to appear from the ground because of the impact. And also, the smoke was purple-colored because of the mechanical fumes from their pogo sticks being destroyed. Meanwhile, back in Hoenn, we see May and Max, who had arrived back in their hometown of Petalburg City. Specifically, they had arrived at their house. They quickly clean their feet on the mat at the front door when they enter, and their mother Caroline notices this and happily greets them, and they greet her back, with May and Max taking turns hugging her. May and Max ask where their dad was, leading Caroline to unfortunately reveal that they kinda had bad timing because Norman was just out shopping at the moment. While Norman was gone, May and Max decided to kill time by going to Norman's little greenhouse where he kept all his Pokémon to see how they were doing. Caroline accompanies them as well, and the three of them immediately see Norman's Slacking, Slackoff, and Vigoroth. May then gets the idea to send out all of her Pokemon to see if they would like the greenhouse too, since it was adept for Pokemon. And as soon as May lets out all 5 of her Pokemon, Bulbasaur, Combusken, Skitty, Beautifly, and Munchlax, they immediately run off to play, rest, and check out their new surroundings. After they had all greeted Vigoroth, Slackoff, and Slacking, of course. Anyways, Skitty ended up falling asleep in a tree, Bulbasaur took interest in some flowers, sniffing them, and Combusken and Beautifly ran around and played with Slacking, Slackoff, and Vigoroth, with Munchlax running around as well. Although, while Caroline was busy observing Combusken, Max was observing Munchlax and saw that it had found a stash of food that was meant for Vigoroth, Slackoff, or Slacking, and was chowing down on it, so Max quickly told it to stop. But Munchlax didn't listen to him, and since he left his backpack back at his house, he didn't have any of May's Pokeblocks to force it to eat those instead. Though, thankfully, Caroline got an idea, deciding to make lunch for everyone, which would feed Munchlax in the process, and Munchlax got immensely hyped about this, as Max liked it as well, and told Caroline his idea for lunch, really eager to eat Caroline's cooking again, and Caroline agreed to cook what Max wanted. We then go back to Kanto, where Ash and Brock were walking together until they reached another crossroads, one way leading to Pallet Town and one way leading to Pewter City, because they were already back in Kanto. Brock talked about how he was going to go see his family again in Pewter City and help out at the gym, and Ash talked about how he was going to go back to Pallet Town and see his mom and Oak and all that. And without further ado, Ash and Brock commented on how it was funny they had parted ways for the 3rd time now, but they did so anyways, Brock going towards Pewter and Ash going towards Pallet, saying goodbye as they walked away from each other. After walking for a long-ass time, Ash still hadn't made it to Pallet though, so he decided to take a little rest by a nearby river, also taking the opportunity to have a bite to eat with Pikachu to recharge. Just before Ash and Pikachu could actually dig in to their pre-made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that they had Brock prepare for them before he left, a Poliwag popped out of the water, and this excited Ash and Pikachu as they turned around to look at it, and Ash called to Max, telling him to take a look as well, knowing that Max really liked Poliwag. But when Ash doesn't see Max, he then realizes that he parted ways with May and Max, and this makes him sad that he was alone. And in his denial, he thought that maybe Brock was still with him, and he called for Brock to look at the Poliwag, but he then remembered that he had parted ways with Brock as well, making him even more sad. Although Pikachu tried to comfort Ash, basically telling him that even though he knew that Ash missed his friends, at least the two of them were still together. Ash appreciated Pikachu's support, but he was still feeling sad, and wanted to be around more people as soon as possible, aside from just him and Pikachu, so he decided to get back to Pallet Town as soon as possible to meet up with his mom and Oak. Ash declares he was going to get home fast while looking into the lake as the Poliwag then disappears, and Ash realizes along the way as he moves on from the river that in order to get to Pallet Town, he had to travel through Viridian City. So he proceeded to walk through the busy streets of Viridian City, telling Pikachu that it wouldn't be long until they reached Pallet Town now, and absorbing all the pretty shops and all the window shops, like, you know, the shops where you can see the inventory from the window? Yeah, and he was also remembering all of his old adventures in Viridian City, including when he visited the Viridian City gym and had to battle Team Rocket. And he also remembered how the Viridian City gym was destroyed. But, much to Ash's shock, he spotted the Viridian City gym rebuilt after his battle against Jesse, when it collapsed. However, it wasn't just rebuilt, but entirely remodeled and redecorated on the outside as well.
As Ash goes on a trip down memory lane, remembering his
battle with Team Rocket at the Viridian Gym, and also admiring its new exterior, a bright red car suddenly sped up right beside Ash, and a large man stepped out and instantly greeted Ash, asking him if he was a Pokemon trainer, introducing himself as Scott. Ash then confirmed that he was a Pokemon trainer, so Scott asked Ash if he had come to the Viridian Gym to challenge it, suggesting that he should, as trainers could get a lot out of it, although Ash rebutted that he had no reason to challenge the Viridian Gym, since he already had the Earth Badge. Scott seemed impressed by how skilled Ash was to be able to get the Earth Badge, and suggested that Ash might even be a good enough trainer to challenge the Battle Frontier. Ash was intrigued as to what the Battle Frontier could be, as Scott just clarified that it was the Battle Frontier Challenge. Ash wanted to know what it was in more detail, but just as Scott was about to explain in more detail, a loud crash stopped him mid-sentence, startling him and Ash. The crash sounded like a bike crashing, but that wasn't the only thing Ash and Scott heard. They also heard a woman screaming, so they ran over a few feet away to the source of the screaming and the crash, thinking that the woman had hurt herself. But Ash and Scott go up to the woman and see that she was just an old lady who had happened to fall off her bike, but she was mostly okay, and she was desperately clutching her groceries, trying not to drop them after she fell. Ash helped the woman up a little bit, thinking that she may have been too sore to fully stand up straight, while Scott helped pick up the woman's bike, as well as a couple groceries that she did end up dropping. And Ash then introduced himself. Scott asked where the woman was going on her bike, leading the woman to reveal that she had arrived at her destination, leading Ash to become shocked, asking if the woman meant the Viridian Gym. The woman replied that that's exactly what she meant, and introduced herself as Agatha, the newer gym leader of Viridian, who had been working as the gym leader for several months now, because, Giovanni and Team Rocket likely weren't running that shit anymore. Hearing this, Ash stated that he really wanted to see the interior of the gym to see how it had changed since the last time he was there. So Agatha officially took him and Scott inside the gym, and sure enough, Ash was amazed by how different it looked since the last time he was there, with Agatha confirming that the main thing she really did to the interior was give it a new coat of paint. But Ash and Pikachu were more so in awe of how big the gym was for just being rebuilt a few months ago. Ash then asked Agatha if Scott and Agatha knew each other, because Scott never introduced himself, leading Agatha to reveal that she knew Scott very well, causing Scott to be embarrassed, since that made it look like he was kind of famous if a gym leader knew him or some shit. Agatha then asked Scott how his search for strong trainers in the Seafoam Islands was going, leading Scott to simply say that the information was confidential, so he couldn't share it. Agatha then asked Ash if he was at the gym, because he really wanted to challenge it, and that's why he wanted to see the interior so much, but Ash explained that he already had won a badge from the gym. Scott suggests that Ash should battle Agatha just for fun, though, and Ash liked this idea, so he asked for a battle. Agatha actually was hesitant to accept, though, because she had just battled 2 trainers yesterday who had come to the gym, and they were not a challenge whatsoever for her, so she only wanted to battle a challenger that was going to give her an actual fight, leading Ash to admit that he thought he was decently strong, because he came in the top 8 in the whole league last episode, which impressed Scott, and a bit more mildly impressed Agatha, but she was still impressed nonetheless, and decided to let Ash battle her. Agatha then asks Scott to be the referee of the battle, and Scott agrees, so Ash and Agatha go to opposite sides of the new Viridian battlefield, and Scott announces that the battle will be a one-on-one battle with no time limit, and not an official battle either. So Ash sent out his Pokemon that he chose, Pikachu, since it was his ace, and Agatha sent out her Gengar. Ash realized that he hadn't battled a Gengar in quite a while, and needed a refresher on its details, remembering that the details were interesting, so he scanned it with his Pokedex to learn more about it, as Scott officially declared that it was time for the battle to begin. So Ash started out by having Pikachu use Quick Attack as he sped towards the Gengar, who just stood there, grinning, not moving an inch. This was because, much to Ash's surprise, when Pikachu used Quick Attack, it ended up running straight through Gengar, leading Agatha to scold Ash for forgetting that normal-type moves didn't affect ghost types. Because of Agatha revealing this, though, Ash now knew this, so he knew not to attack with a normal-type move again. Gengar then turned around to look at Pikachu and laughed at it for forgetting about the normal-type thing, but Ash didn't want to let Gengar's little taunt get to him or Pikachu, and simply just had Pikachu use Thunderbolt. However, Gengar was able to dodge the attack by flattening his body to move under Pikachu. Basically, what it did was shrink itself down to the ground, so it was just like a flat thing, so it could just go underneath Pikachu, and then it came up behind it and used Shadow Ball at Pikachu, although Pikachu was able to dodge by skillfully jumping over the Shadow Ball, and lands and glares at Gengar. This surprised Gengar, so Ash was able to catch it off guard and use an Iron Tail, which hits Gengar hard, sending it right into the gym's roof. Scott was impressed by this attack, and Agatha was even a bit impressed by Pikachu's amazing speed. Ash ordered Pikachu to follow up with another Iron Tail, as it jumped up to hit Gengar from the roof. But before Pikachu could get the Iron Tail off, Agatha has Gengar use another Shadow Ball, which pushes Pikachu back, but Pikachu manages to climb over the Shadow Ball, and jumps up once again at Gengar using an Iron Tail. Although, before the Iron Tail could make contact again, Agatha instead countered by calling for a double team, which created several clones of Gengar. These clones then completely surround Pikachu as they all approach him, and and this caused Pikachu to fall back down to the ground since he had nothing to hit with his Iron Tail, and the Double Team clones merely just surround Pikachu even more, getting closer now that he hit the ground. And since all these Double Team clones were so close to Pikachu, Agatha told them all to use a Shadow Ball, but the Shadow Ball had to charge, so Ash had Pikachu use Thunderbolt on every single clone at the same time, destroying all the clones and even hitting the real Gengar. This Thunderbolt knocked Gengar down, but not before it couldn't fire off the Shadow Ball, so the Shadow Ball still went towards Pikachu, but thankfully Pikachu was able to dodge by jumping over the Shadow Ball. And during this jumping process, Pikachu used Iron Tail to hit Gengar hard and send it flying back when it just got back up. And Pikachu then went to finish off the battle by using a Thunderbolt, but despite Gengar being knocked down and injured, Gengar had strong willpower and was able to regain its footing, and was able to use a Hypnosis before Pikachu could get the Thunder off, which put Pikachu to sleep. Agatha proved her strength by showcasing her true plan. It wasn't just to put Pikachu to sleep, but she also ordered Gengar to use a Dream Eater. Essentially, this attack only worked when a Pokemon was asleep, and it was very powerful, which involved a shadow of the user shooting out towards their opponent and passing through the opponent, and basically eating its dreams, which knocked Pikachu out, leaving Scott to declare that Pikachu was unable to battle, and Agatha and Gengar were the winners. Ash quickly runs up to his defeated Pikachu and lets it rest in his arms. And Ash checks on it. Thankfully, Pikachu hadn't sustained any bad injuries. Pikachu seemed sad about the loss, but Ash comforted him. Agatha then came up to Ash and thanked him for such a good battle, complimenting his skills. Ash does the same to Agatha, but admits that he knew he was not nearly as strong as Agatha. Scott then comments that Ash shouldn't have expected to beat Agatha at all, and he put up a good fight against her. Ash asked why he shouldn't have been able to beat Agatha, leading Scott to reveal that Agatha was not only the new gym leader of the Viridian Gym, but he laughed as he explained that Ash had just faced off against a member of the Kanto Elite Four, 4 of the 5 strongest trainers in all of Kanto, only behind the champion. Ash had just faced off with one of them. Ash expressed his surprise at Agatha being a member of the Elite Four, not necessarily because of her strength, but just because of the fact that she was the Viridian Gym Leader, so he didn't understand how one could be a Gym Leader and an Elite Four member, leading Agatha to reveal that she was just a temporary Gym Leader, filling in for a little bit until the official Gym Leader arrived, because they hadn't arrived yet. Man, I wonder who that would be. I don't think we ever get to see this. I wonder who the new Viridian Gym Leader is. Anyways, Agatha then states that the reason why she didn't mention to Ash that she was part of the Elite Four was because she was scared that Ash may back down, in case he was scared of fighting someone so strong, but she acknowledged that Ash may not have declined her invitation to battle if he found out that she was an Elite Four member, because he battled well and he seemed confident. Agatha then complimented Pikachu as well, saying that he and Ash were a good team. Ash thanked her and said that he would promise to do his best to eventually become Elite Four level himself, so he could go toe-to-toe with Agatha and the other Elite Four members. With the battle done, Ash and Scott decided to leave the gym, saying goodbye to Agatha, and as they walked out, Team Rocket spied from their Meowth balloon up in the sky. They had seen the entire battle through the window of the gym as well, and were extremely impressed with Pikachu's strength. And the trio immediately declared that they were going to plan to find out a way to capture Pikachu and give it to Giovanni, cheering as they did so, as Wobbuffet popped out its Pokeball to agree. Team Rocket eventually came up with a plan, landing the Meowth balloon behind the gym so that they could get out of it and not draw attention with their balloon. Anyways, in front of the gym, just outside of it, Scott brought up the prospect of the Battle Frontier again and asked if Ash was still interested in challenging it. Ash confirmed that it depended on what it entailed and asked Scott to explain more about it. And Ash became excited as Scott explained, and Team Rocket listened intently from behind the gym. Basically, anyone who challenged the Battle Frontier and was able to do well in it could officially call themselves Elite Four level, on the same level as Agatha, stating that only the best challengers could do well in the Battle Frontier, and this motivated Ash to want to go to the Battle Frontier a lot, since he wanted to prove his strength. Scott then actually explained what the Battle Frontier was. Basically, it was a system of 7 facilities throughout the Kanto region. Each facility was run by a Frontier Brain, who were essentially gym leaders on steroids, so basically Elite Four level. And much like gym leaders, each Frontier Brain handed out a Frontier symbol if they were defeated. However, one didn't collect 7 Frontier symbols willy-nilly. You actually collected 6, and once you had 6, then, which you could challenge in any order really, then you had to challenge the 7th one, which was the strongest one. So basically, the 7th one would only open up once you beat the first 6, with Scott adding that it was a secret location the 7th facility was located in. While Scott was saying this, we also saw little visions of what he was talking about. We saw visions of the 6 Frontier symbols and the special 7th one, and also we saw silhouettes of 6 of the 7 Frontier Brains: Nolan, Greta, Lucy, Spencer, Tucker, and Annabelle. With Scott's exposition dump of the Battle Frontier now over, he asked Ash if he wanted to partake in the Battle Frontier, with Ash eagerly agreeing, intrigued by challenging these Frontier Brains. As for Team Rocket, who was spying on the conversation, they had overheard Scott explain about the Battle Frontier, so they decided to make the Battle Frontier their next target as well, going to all the facilities, knowing that Ash would go to the facilities as well. Although, Meowth reminded Jesse and James that they may not even have to go to these facilities if they could just catch Pikachu right now, and never have to deal with Ash ever again. So, they went to go capture Pikachu, interrupting Ash and Scott's conversation, in which Scott was congratulating Ash on deciding to enter the Battle Frontier, when a robotic arm suddenly shot out from the Meowth balloon that Team Rocket had went back inside, and grabbed Pikachu right from Ash's shoulder, bringing him into the balloon. Ash and Scott were startled, wondering what the fuck was going on, until Team Rocket revealed themselves and declared that they were now a new Team Rocket, and a new Team Rocket had a brand new motto. So we finally got to see Team Rocket's new motto, which involved Wobbuffet and James Trimeco, as well as Team Rocket standing above the earth, a flaming Team Rocket symbol, and Wobbuffet, of course. Once the motto was done, Ash demanded that Team Rocket give Pikachu back, not caring about the new motto whatsoever, but Jesse, James, and Meowth refuse and simply mock Ash and Scott from their Meowth balloon, and Pikachu cries out, wanting to get free, but it was stuck in the claw beneath the Meowth balloon. Ash ran towards the Meowth balloon, trying to get towards it, but the Meowth balloon started to fly away, and Ash was having trouble catching up. When suddenly, an air cutter sped straight towards the Meowth balloon and cut the mechanical arms extendable thing, which freed Pikachu from the arm as he fell into Ash's hands. Jesse whipped around in the Meowth balloon, turning around angrily, trying to see where the fuck the air cutter came from, and wondering what just happened, only to see Agatha standing outside the Viridian gym with her Golbat, who was the source of the air cutter. She had heard Team Rocket and decided to help free Pikachu. Although Agatha was angry at Team Rocket for attempting to steal someone's Pokemon, she decided to be nice, and she gave them one chance to leave. But Jesse screamed that Team Rocket wouldn't let Agatha stop them from getting Pikachu, and sent out Seviper, while James sent out his Cacnea, although of course Cacnea hugged James before he could do anything, prickling him. Jesse started off by having Seviper use Bite straight towards Pikachu, but Ash tells Pikachu to prepare a Thunderbolt for later, but for now, use a Quick Attack to dodge. So, as Seviper moved towards Pikachu to bite it, Pikachu skillfully dodged with a Quick Attack, and then was able to grab on to Seviper's tail, and threw Seviper over its head, and directly back at Team Rocket. As Seviper was flying back into the Meowth balloon, though, Pikachu injured it more, using Thunderbolt on it to send it crashing into the balloon basket and directly on Jesse's face, knocking her down, much to the surprise of James, Meowth, Wobbuffet, and Chimecho. James then had his Cacnea try to get revenge on Pikachu by using a Pin Missile, but Agatha steps in to help, having her Golbat use a Supersonic to send the Pin Missile right back at James, Meowth, and Wobbuffet, and Chimecho, injuring them. Ash and Agatha then team up for a double attack, with Agatha going for a air cutter to poke a hole in the Meowth balloon, and Pikachu sending Team Rocket blasting off with a Thunderbolt, exploding the Meowth balloon as usual. With Team Rocket gone, Scott admitted that watching Ash and Agatha battle Team Rocket was quite exhilarating for him, and declared that it was time for him to go as he started up his car's engine and got back in it, wishing Ash luck when he participated in the Battle Frontier, promising that he would contact Ash about the Battle Frontier soon. First, though, Scott had to try and see if any other trainers wanted to enter the Battle Frontier challenge as well, and that implied that Scott may have run the Battle Frontier or some shit, but we didn't have absolute confirmation of this yet. Ash then declared that he had a new goal to defeat the Frontier Brains, and Pikachu cheered, agreeing with this goal. Well, seems like we're not going for a league for now anyways. They're actually changing up the formula a little bit. Ash and Scott then say their goodbyes as Scott drives away in his car, and Agatha wishes Ash good luck in the Battle Frontier as well, saying that she would support him no matter what, and she hoped that Ash would get far. Since it would still be a little bit of time before the Battle Frontier, though, Ash decided to go back to his home in Pallet Town still, so he began his long walk with Pikachu, saying goodbye to Agatha. As he and Pikachu walked, they crossed a river and several rocks and iconic trees. Ash and Pikachu saw that not much had changed regarding the outskirts of Pallet Town since they had last visited, or since they began their journey in the first place. After a long time, Ash and Pikachu finally made it back to Pallet Town, and they were very excited to be back, as Ash and Pikachu quickly ran back to his house. As soon as Ash entered his home, he called out that he was there and wondered if anyone was at home, assuming his mom would be. And sure enough, his mom called out from the kitchen, but Ash was surprised because so did his old friend Misty as well. Misty was at his house and greeted him. Ash asked what Misty was doing, although he was very glad to see her, and Misty revealed that Professor Oak apparently assumed that Ash would come back to Pallet Town after the Hole League, because he always came back to Pallet Town after his leagues. So when Misty heard this, she decided to come and meet Ash in Pallet Town, since it had been a long time since they had seen each other. Ash was impressed that Misty came all the way from Cerulean City, and suddenly Pikachu, who was glad to see Misty after all this time as well, jumped into her arms, as Ash watched, kind of annoyed at the fact that Pikachu just abandoned him with no hesitation. Just then, though, Ash was delighted to see not only Misty, but his mom and Professor Oak, along with Mr. Mime, who all came to greet him. Just then, Ash was very surprised to see someone else come out of the kitchen, an Azurill, which Misty explained was her new Azurill that Tracy had gave her after his Meryl had hatched an egg, and Azurill hatched from it, because, Azurill was the pre-evolution of Meryl. Misty then picks Azurill up from the ground after it had walked up beside her feet, and she explained that she was the one who even hatched it from an egg. Ash then pets Azurill and admits that Misty's new baby Pokemon was very cute. Just then, Mr. Mime comes up to Ash, holding a lunch that he prepared for Ash. Ash eagerly gulped this down, but he wanted more food, so Ash's mom agreed to make her specialty dinner per Ash's request. Especially after Ash complimented the sandwiches and salad that she and Mr. Mime made for Ash's lunch. Misty was a bit embarrassed at Ash's constant hunger, but she decided to eat as well, along with Oak, Ash's mom, and Mr. Mime, after Ash's mom and Mr. Mime had managed to finally prepare some of their specialty dinner. Right as they were about to eat, though, a loud horn beeped from outside, which caused Ash, Misty, Oak, Ash's mom, and Mr. Mime to all look out the window to see none other than Max and Professor Birch standing outside. having just arrived from the Hoenn region in Birch's jeep, wanting to visit Ash, knowing that he'd be back in Pallet Town. Basically, Max had met up with Birch, and he was like, yo, I wonder how Ash is doing. So Max agreed to come along and see his friend. So, with that, Max and Birch joined in on the dinner feast, and Max, Birch, Misty, Ash's mom, Oak, Mr. Mime, and Ash himself all talked for hours and hours on end all night long while they ate, with Ash mentioning the battle frontier, and stating how thankful he was that Max and Birch chose to come and see him. With that, that's the end of Season 8 of the Pokemon anime. Next episode, episode 410, is the start of Season 9, Battle Frontier.